Hi there! In my last video I created a foam stamp and some collage papers, and I started to make a collage fish. And in this video I'm going to continue to complete the fish, and I hope you're going to enjoy watching the process.
I'm Christina. I'm an artist and teacher, and I live in two different worlds. One in Sweden, in a gorgeous location where I work as a bridge master, opening a bridge for sailing boats and motorboats. But most important is the other world, in West Africa, where I live in a beautiful tropical garden with lots of jungle, monkeys, lizards, and beautiful birds of all sizes. Every morning I get to enjoy the wildlife around me while having my breakfast or just a cup of tea in the company of my wonderful dogs that always stay by my side. When I enter my house, I come straight into my art studio. This is where I paint, draw, film, and sometimes host art classes for small groups. In my videos, you get to see a bit of my life, my artistic journey, how I paint, draw, some tips and tricks and thoughts about creativity. So sit back and enjoy, and please subscribe to my channel.
Okay, here I have the fish that I created in my last video, or the parts of it really. And before I glue it together, I'm gonna darken all the edges of all the pieces using burnt sienna, acrylic, and a small sponge. And I use very little paint and keep it quite dry. And then I dab and rub it into the edges. I could have used a paintbrush, but it might have given me a thicker and a little bit more straight line. In this way I get a very soft and gradient shading. It gives a bit of a rounded and three-dimensional look to the fish. I actually got this idea from way back when I did a bit of something called scrapbooking, a very popular thing, where you could make albums, greeting cards, paper creations and stuff like that. And it was a lot about layering paper, cardstock, stamping, using ribbons, text, glitter. It was very three-dimensional. And I bought a bunch of very small ink pads in different colors to darken the edges of the cards. And I kept that idea, but instead of these ink pads, I use now acrylic paint and a sponge. And I'm very much into simple solutions instead of buying too much supplies. So now I darkened the edges of all the pieces, and it's time to glue them together. But I'm gonna add something more first. I've used this blue paper for the fishtail, and I want to use that paper on a couple more places. So I will cut out a little strip that will go on the side of the face. And then I'm gonna cut a little piece to use for the eye. I want a big iris, and then I will paint a big black pupil on top. And I found this little plastic cork. If you followed me, you know that I collect plastic corks in all sizes. They always come in handy. And this was a perfect size. And I have to darken the edge here too. So now it's time to glue, and I put this white paper here to protect the surface when I smear the glue. I will start by attaching the pink fins to the body, and I mark out with a pencil where they should be and where I need to glue. And then I glue down all the other pieces. So here I have the fish, and now it's time for silver embossing. What I use for this technique is silver embossing powder. I have gold and some other colors, but I think silver will look best on the fish. Then I will use an embossing pen. It comes with 2 tips. There are embossing pads as well if you want to use a stamp. But in this case, I use a pen with the thin tip. And then I have a heat gun. I use it for embossing, or sometimes when I want to dry a layer of acrylic paint a bit faster. Now I just draw some lines with the pen. It's very important to keep a thin paper underneath when you do this, and then you can just sprinkle the powder generously all over the fish. I put the lid back to secure it, and then I flip the fish over and carefully remove any excess powder. And now I open the little jar and I fold the paper like this. And pour the powder right back into the jar. I turn on the heat gun and I keep it a few centimeters above the fish, and I move the heat gun back and forth a bit, and now you can see how the powder melts and creates shining silver lines. It's quite cool, right? Make sure you work in a well ventilated area when you do this technique. Before I keep working on the eye, I will glue the fish onto a thin carton because I want to make it a bit more sturdy. Here is the thing I like to do to enhance the rounded look of the fish. I use a bone folder and I just bend the edges like this. And if you don't have a bone folder, you can use a tablespoon. It works just as well. A bone folder is great to use to make a crease in a folded card, but in this case a spoon will do. When I added the carton to the fish, the edge became beige. So one more time, I'm gonna darken the edges with burnt sienna. And now I bring out a black Posca pen, an acrylic pen to make the pupil. And then I let that dry completely before I move on. I'm gonna make a white dot in the eye, the light in the eye. And normally I would use a white Posca pen, but I happen to bring all of them to Gambia and left none here, so I need to order soon. Meanwhile, I use white paint from the tube and the flat end of a wooden skewer. So here it is, the fish is completed. Now it will end up on my fridge door. I had to use rolled masking tape instead of magnets like this lizard here, because again I brought all the magnets to the Gambia. I hope you stay tuned here for my next video coming up, where I show you how I go about creating templates for the fish and many other things. Until then, you can check out another video that I put a link to, and if you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I see you next time.